I'll start and just say, so as Don said, my name is Sammy. I'm the co-founder and COO, so the Chief Operating Officer here at FarmRaise. We're a new startup. We'll tell you all about what we are and what we do here in a few minutes. I did not grow up in agriculture. I actually didn't know anything about farming until college, and then I just got hooked on it. And I've been working predominantly to research and understand farmer needs related to adopting different practices like cover cropping or soil health systems. And that's ultimately what brought me here today. So we're really excited to meet some of you.
Hi everyone, I'm Jace and I'm the co-founder and CEO of FarmRaise. Thank you for coming in today. Really excited to meet you all. I am calling in from our farm out in Virginia, and we've gotten an EQIP grant and a state level Virginia CREP grant to transition some of our grazing practices on our farm. We started doing rotational grazing, and over 3 years, it's boosted our profitability by about $40 an acre. But it was expensive to implement up front, and because we had to get new watering systems, electric fence, all that good stuff. And we were fortunate to get those grants to help get the ball rolling. But you know, because of my family's experience, I'm really excited about helping farmers unlock finance for their operations, because finance can be a total pain. It's not a lot of fun. It's confusing. The information's scattered everywhere, and so I'm dedicated to making it simple and straightforward for farmers.
Well said.
I'm Mercedes Taylor Puckett, and I live in Lawrence, and I'm on staff at Kansas Farmers Union, and we work with beginning farmers a lot and assistance with grants and loans. Is that only me?
No, I hear it too.
Okay.
I think it might be coming from Mary Howell.
So that is one of the biggest questions, you know, is I'd like to get a grant to start my farm, or, you know, those type of things. So really having a resource that we can tap into to help people, you know, figure out the options, and, you know, more in-depth stuff about credit is such a mystery to many beginning farmers. So we're looking forward to seeing your site develop, your program develop, and be able to send people your direction. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mary Beth Steinloggy, and
Hi.
here's my husband.
Oh,
Hello.
Oh, there he is. We can almost see him.
yeah, about wrong.
We've been listening to these Zoom meetings, trying to educate ourselves on anything we can farm related. We have several children living on 5 to 7 acre farms, and you know, we're just trying to gather as much information. Plus, we have a lot of farmer friends that we can share those ideas with also. So that's why we're here.
We have different ones. They raise chickens on the small farms.
Yeah, this year our son Matt incubated a whole lot of chickens, and he gave some to Christina and Renee and Debbie
Wow.
and Rodney. Yeah,
Rodney.
so they're all in the chicken business this year. It's just because of this COVID deal. So.
Or the so president of Nemaha County Farmers Union.
Nice.
He's a good member.
That's awesome. Well, we're so happy you're here, and really good to meet you both.
Thank you.
All right.
So I see a Nancy. Talk or?
I guess I am. I'm kind of like Mary. I have a child who's not a child. He's an adult, but he's got 3 acres and is beginning farming. And so I'm just always on the lookout for credit sources of funding opportunities for him so far. To some extent, I've been the source of funding. And so I'm ready for him to find his own source of funding.
Mhm.
I could understand that.
So good to meet you, Nancy. Can I ask what your background is? What plant is that?
Well, I actually have a degree in agricultural economics from K-State, but I ended up more being a mom. I currently volunteer with K-State Extension and work a lot with food inequity issues in Kansas City. So.
That's awesome. Very cool. I'm glad to know that. I was also asking about the image in your Zoom background, but that is awesome to hear about your professional background as well.
I'm an extension master gardener and an extension master naturalist, and
Whoa.
that's a photo. There's a butterfly in there. So,
Cool.
so that's from one of the gardens.
Beautiful. Very beautiful. And Mary Howell or Kent and Ryan, if you want to introduce yourselves, please jump in. We're just talking about our relationship to farming and if you all have received any funding in the past.
This is Kent Anderson, and I'm kind of new to Zoom, so can people see me?
No.
Or what do I do to, do I
Go to
start
the
video?
bottom left part of your screen, and there should be a video icon with a slash through it. And if
Okay, I think I got it. Did that help?
yeah.
Hey, there you are.
Yeah, okay, yeah, all right,
Hello.
yeah. Well, I'm back in my little office back here, but anyway, I'm a retired agricultural lender. And have been a long time member of Farmers Union, although not particularly active. But I just thought this would be an interesting topic. And so I wanted to listen and learn.
And we
Wonderful.
intend to change that not particularly active part of it.
Well, I hope to be able to do that too, Don.
Very good.
So good to meet you. Thanks for being here.
Yes.
Mary, you gonna talk?
I-
Mary never lets us look at her. So she just heard yesterday that her daughter has COVID in DC.
Oh.
So
No. I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
Well,
he's not
Can you
coming
hear
off of mute,
Yeah.
so you better go on to Ryan.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, this is Mary Howell. Dan's in the background here too, but we're on the phone because the internet is bad tonight. So anyhow, we are livestock producers and grow forage. And the other question is, early on, we had some grazing grant money when we were starting our grazing, our move from cropland, moving that to grazing land. So I work with Kansas Farmers Union as a staff person in membership and education.
And you did get a Equip High Tunnel, Mary.
We did. That's true.
very cool. That's great.
So I'll go
Yeah.
back on mute so that I don't cause that reverberation that was going on earlier if that was me, because it quit when I put me on mute. So
Okay.
Your turn, Ryan.
Hey, I don't have the best location right now. We're having multiple meetings in the house currently over Zoom, but yeah, I'm Ryan Griffin-Regier. I'm Vice President of the Kansas Farmers Union. I work for the Kansas Rural Center and don't really think when I work full-time off the farm that maybe I get to call myself a farmer, but when I am a farmer, maybe someday I would be the 6th generation farmer in this area in my family. Yeah, I haven't gotten funded really grants for myself, but among my dad and uncle on our farm, we've had a number of EQIP grants worked with CSP program, a number of different government programs, and at the Rural Center, I've been writing some grants and doing a lot more research in that. So I got a soil health grant from the National Soil Health Policy Network and applied to a SARE grant this year, and we're working on a USDA grant as well. So I'm always interested to hear more about grants and what you're doing, Sammy. So good to see you again.
You too. It's great to see you. Thank you so much for being here. How did the SARE grant go? Did you write it on your own?
Yeah, we did the research and education grant, which is probably the most competitive one for our North Central SARE region, and it's a pre-proposal, and then you get invited to do a full proposal. So our pre-proposal is in, and we'll know in February whether they ask us to do the full 40 or 50-page one. But yeah, I guess I mostly wrote and researched it myself, but my coworkers gave really valuable feedback and help. So
Nice.
yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, fingers crossed. I remember those were definitely the big ticket grants when I worked there, still are. And I think it's a rewarding process to write one because you really have to structure a solid proposal and put together a team. And then you have a good template you can work off of for other grants if you want in the future. So that's really cool. Good luck. I'll be wanting to stay posted on that.
Yeah. Yeah, and we at the Kansas Rural Center have a farm to school grant we got that we're doing through the USDA, and then I'm also helping with the urban innovation grant that Donna Pearson McClish, Wichita, got recently. So I'm part of the team for that one. So we're all hands involved everywhere, I guess. So, yeah.
Love it. Yeah, gotta have your team. That's great. Well, this is awesome. It's actually super good to know all of your interests and backgrounds because then we can make this more relevant to each of you. And what I'm hearing is actually we're going to have fun because we've got everyone represented from the grant side of things to the lending side. And I think what I propose is, like I said, although I'll share some slides so we can talk through some things, I'd love for this to be more of a conversation. And I'd really love feedback, especially towards the end, on the potential you all see in Farm Raise, how you think we could leverage what we're building to have a bigger impact on you or your children. So thinking through that kind of thing would be a fun outcome, I think, for us. So I'll go ahead and share my screen and we'll launch in. But again, hopefully this is just a conversation rather than a lecture. I certainly don't want to be lecturing you all about funding. So yeah, we'll kick things off. I'll let Jace start us off and then we'll go from there.
Great. So at Farm Raise, our vision is working with farmers to increase their profitability. We know that farmers have limited bandwidth to deal with financial paperwork, getting their finances in order, updating their financial statements, applying for finance. All this is often, done at the end of the day or in off times when you can fit it in, but it's like really hard to find time to do that and energy to do that. And so our goal is to build a website that makes it really easy for farmers to identify the best things they can do to make their farm profitable. And that includes accessing finance, which is what we're focusing on here today, to be more profitable as an operation. And the reason that this is, so important to me is growing up, this is my dad, Jay, he's an Angus beef cattle farmer. And we have a small farm out here in Virginia. And I just as a kid, remember growing up watching how his day would begin and end in the dark every day. I remember when I was 4, if I was lucky, I would catch him at 4:30 in the morning just on his way out to check cows. And I loved catching him because that would be my time with my dad. We just go in the truck and early morning darkness, feed the cows hay. Sometimes there'd be calves on the ground in the snow. And then my dad would leave to go work his second job doing construction, full-time farming, full-time construction. And then he'd come back in the evening and finish up, the work and be working all weekend. He was always really, really tired. And we never really had, time or bandwidth to make our business operation as a farm better, thinking about different revenue streams we could tap, thinking about, updating our financial statements regularly so we could identify ways that we could optimize the business. There was no time for that. We were just kind of in survival mode for a lot of the time. So that's the perspective that brings me to the table. And we've, Sammy and I, over the past couple years, have been speaking with hundreds of farmers who also share this challenge of lacking sort of time, bandwidth, tools to enhance their profitability. Farms are small businesses, but it's really hard as a farmer to update your 3 financial statements, cash flow projections, income statement, and balance sheet, and have those on hand. And farmers need these to not only just apply for their annual operating loan, but also to understand what levers they can pull to access new revenue streams, to optimize their business, and to apply for financing to grow. So this is actually a challenge of paperwork, of time, of bandwidth, and our goal here at FarmRaise is to simplify the process of understanding your financial health as a farmer, and then what levers to pull to enhance that, including access to finance.
Yeah, well said. And we are really excited because there's this opportunity that many farmers have shared with us to solve this challenge by being this fully integrated one-stop shop for farm finance. And that means helping farmers access federal cost sharing grants, state level funding opportunities, soil and water conservation district grants, and loans as well. And we're also really excited because we're seeing a lot of interest from non-traditional funders in agriculture at supporting farmers that are investing in sustainable food systems, local food systems, organic production, things that historically traditional lenders in agriculture have not been able to finance because of the way that they underwrite. So we're also pulling these new funds to the table and helping farmers access their resources as well. And so we've thought a lot about like what makes farms profitable at FarmRaise, and we've talked with a lot of farmers. I think before we built the first iteration of FarmRaise, we'd spoken with over 100 farmers in the Midwest and in California to try to understand what they needed and the challenges they were facing. And this theme came out of profitability really being about intentionality and business planning, but also about the natural capital assets that all farmers rely on, the soil. And so we promote this two-pronged strategy where we think about how farms can optimize their production and marketing efforts, diversify their revenue streams, etc. And if you plot out, the 5-year vision you have or longer for the farm, you can then start to identify along the way the resources you're going to need to get there. So if you want to have, a viable direct-to-consumer beef operation in 5 years, we can walk through the types of costs and equipment and labor you're going to need to get there and chart a path towards that and connect you with funding to be able to do that. Soil health is a big part of it too. It has all these incredible benefits to yield and reducing costs, but it's a weird thing where there's kind of this initial transition that you have to go through to implement soil health systems, and it's both a financial transition and a knowledge transition. And a lot of the farmers we talk to just need a little bit of an incentive to do that. And so there's, they want to access these cost share programs and things that can offset the cost of transitioning. And so it's a really good strategy for the long run that you might just need a little capital today to move towards. Feel free, like I said, to chime in at any point with questions as we go through this. I'm actually curious if anyone in the group would have another factor contributing to profitability that you'd want to share here outside of just business planning and thinking about natural capital assets. What else would you want to be thinking about? And I see Nancy asked about the cost of our service, and we will talk through that here at the end because I want to I kind of want to show you what we're going to do and then illustrate the cost. But at a high level, what we charge is a success fee. So if you access a grant with the help of FarmRaise or a loan with the help of FarmRaise, we take a percentage fee from the amount that you're awarded. And we also are debuting later on an integrated system that you can pay for on a monthly basis, and we'll talk to you about what that looks like as well. Thank you for asking.
I love that Don has a cigar.
Perfect. Did you get out that bourbon yet, Don?
Yeah, but give me
Not yet.
time.
And so today we were hoping to just give you an overview of the funding sources that you can connect with and then how to apply to them, and then have ample time for discussion. We've broken down the funding landscape into these 5 key dimensions. So grants and cost share programs being a big part of that. Easements, which easements are often, and you all probably are familiar with them, but just in case you aren't, they're for setting aside the land for a certain use. So you can get a rental payment for setting aside some of your land into conservation, or you can even, if you're near an urban area, get financial support to set aside your land into an agricultural easement and protect it from being developed into urban land in the future. So easements are a cool one for landowners. Loans are a really good and essential option for a lot of farmers, especially for startup capital, and especially for expansion and things that typically grants are less reliable to fund. And then there are, we've seen this the past 3 years, especially, there's some significant dollars coming from USDA in the form of emergency and disaster relief that farmers can access too, but those are in special cases. I will say each of these little categories of funding have their own nuances to them. Like grants, you need to know, and Ryan just went through this right in the SARE grant, but you need to know kind of what's eligible to be funded by the grant, if you need to provide a match through other cash or your time, what that looks like. And then there may be some reporting you have to do on the grant after you receive it.
I just might add that the emergency and disaster relief kind of requires you to have some type of history. And so for beginning farmers, there's probably not going to be a whole lot in that block.
Right. Thank you, Don. And so these funding sources, especially on the grant side of things, are dispersed by USDA. So we've got, the Natural Resource Conservation Service, the SARE program, Farm Service Agency, the Rural Development Agency, and the Ag Marketing Service. And collectively, there are over $3 billion available through these grant and cost share programs. And so this isn't including emergency and disaster relief. This is just additive grant and cost share you can get federally. And so we wanted to highlight here a few options that are really good for operations looking to invest in their marketing efforts or their sustainability, and touch upon the nuances of them. You definitely don't need to memorize this slide. We can provide these resources to you through our website or via email afterwards, but these are some things you might want to be looking out for in the coming months. I want you to take note that every one of these grant programs has its own deadline, and deadlines are across all seasons. So in some grants, like the Rural Energy for America program, you can actually apply. There are 2 different funding cycles you can apply for. So that's something to keep in mind and manage. And FarmRaise helps you manage your deadlines for these grants and helps you get ahead of the ball, which is good. And then also notice that the funding amounts and the purposes of the grants differ significantly. SARE grants, for example, are mostly for research or education on the farm related to how to be more sustainable from an economic, environmental, and social lens. So they're actually a pretty solid option for things related to soil conservation, but also related to having a sustainable market for the products you're producing from the farm. And then the farmers market promotion program is also a great one for marketing efforts. Any questions here on this, on these different programs at the federal level? Keep going a little bit here. I also wanted to highlight these great programs through the Natural Resource Conservation Service. So if you on your land or your farm have a resource concern, so you've got, you know, a waterway on the farm that's experiencing some pollution, or you've got animals that have manure that you need to take care of, or you've got soil that's bare during the winter time, you can actually apply to NRCS and get dollars, cost share dollars through EQIP or CSP to address that resource concern through some sort of value added practice, like putting cover crops on the farm or installing fencing to help manage your livestock better. And what's cool is, like in Kansas, for example, there's a ton of different funding pools that the state has set aside via EQIP. And the way you make your application more competitive is by thinking on these funding pools before you apply and trying to understand where you fit and where the resource concerns on your farm fit. And so FarmRaise can help you with that. When farmers come to us, we've helped over 10 farmers apply for EQIP today. And they often come to us, we'll email with them or call them and ask about resource concerns, and then we'll map them over to the relevant funding pools and send a little cover paragraph when we submit their application that helps that NRCS agent really know how to work best with this farmer on getting a conservation plan in place. I don't know how familiar y'all are with EQIP, but I do think it's important to be transparent that EQIP is cost share, as I mentioned. So it's often you have to have the cash up front to install the practice, and then you submit your receipts or your report back to EQIP, to the NRCS, and they'll reimburse you for up to 75% of the cost. And if you're a beginning farmer or a minority farmer, you can get up to 90% of the cost reimbursed. So just want to be transparent about the nuances of that, but it is a great option. And you can often use loans to pay for the practice and then pay back the loan with your cost share. In Kansas in 2019, there were $33 million given out in EQIP contracts. And you can kind of see the breakdown here in the map of where most of that was located.
So just adding a comment as a
Hey,
local
Sam.
legend farmer
Oh.
is you shouldn't go ahead and do something and assume you can get some cost share funding. You would want to start the process with the local FSA office and do it as a package.
Yes, that's such a good point, Don. It's not guaranteed, and in fact, these programs sometimes have a probability rate of about 30%. So 30% of applicants each year are awarded funds. So it's really important to apply first and then make a decision about when to do the project. Such a good point. And Ryan, I think you were chiming in with the thought.
Yeah, I saw earlier this year or last year that USDA was moving CSP into EQIP, or moving most of the funding and programs in there. Is CSP still separate from EQIP? Do you know?
It is still separate from EQIP. But what they're doing is they've created a ranking system that they use. And so when you apply now for EQIP, they'll put you through, they don't put you physically through it. They take your application and data about your farm. They put it through this system of ranking, where if they decide that you're actually a better candidate for CSP, even though you applied to EQIP, they'll put you into the CSP applicant pool, which is pretty sweet because they didn't do that before. And I know that they combined RCPP with EQIP more formally. So, or actually, I need to double check that. They either combined the two or split them up, which would be a different outcome. I will check what actually happened with RCPP for you, but great question. And I put the November 30th deadline here just to, so EQIP is actually accepted on a continuous basis, which is awesome. You can apply at any point in the year. But they do batch the applications so that they can make a decision for the next funding cycle. And for Kansas, the next batching date is November 30th. So if you're thinking about applying for EQIP, it's highly encouraged that you get that application in before November 30th. You can submit an EQIP application on FarmRaise's site for in 30 minutes or less, and then we help you actually apply, and that is free. So our support for EQIP and CSP is completely free, and it just takes a multi-hour process and trims it down for you to 30 minutes or so. I will say one more thing that came up for me on EQIP is that you can apply again every year, even if you don't get funding. So that's a cool thing about this program. And the people at NRCS do a really good job of actually working with you. So after you submit your paperwork, they'll do a site visit to your farm and come learn about your resource concerns and help you get your foot in the door for that funding to come through later on if they have the capacity to fund you in that cycle. So it's a very hands-on program. And then we did check out some of the state level resources in Kansas and found a couple programs that are smaller but could be helpful to some of you for investing in your education, or if you're organic certified, those costs associated with that. So there's a specialty crop grower conference reimbursement program where if you want to come to a conference in California or in Kansas, in your home state or elsewhere, you can get up to $850 of your costs reimbursed if it's related to specialty crops. And then for organic cost share, you can get up to $500 per certification, or 50% of certification related, or yeah, 50% of certification related costs covered. And those deadlines are coming up in December.
So both of those would be through the Kansas Department of Agriculture.
Correct. And it's easy to apply online. FarmRaise doesn't have the applications for that uploaded to our platform, but we can definitely direct you to the links that you need if you're interested in applying. And we also are exploring ways to help farmers apply for loans, because 50% of the farmers that have come to us to date, and we've had over 500 farmers come to FarmRaise and set up an account in the past couple months, are also looking for loans. And I'll let Jace speak to this a bit.
Yeah, what's interesting is we found opportunities to help farmers prepare applications for loans. And then, you know, many of these farmers, the first place they went was their local bank or credit union. It's very similar to what my family does. We bank with Farmers and Merchants Bank in our local town, and then we have a line of credit with Farm Credit Mid-Atlantic. But what we found is that we can actually take a farmer's application and work with farmers to help them apply to multiple loan options at once. So they can compare different terms, rates, see how they like the lender in terms of their relationship. And we can tailor those applications based on their geography. So help them, you know, shop around for multiple loan rates and terms in a way that's convenient for them. And we do that by, first of all, helping the farmer get their financial paperwork in order, and then kind of handling that process, because the farmers we've spoken with, some of them have banking relationships they love and enjoy, and then others have had trouble finding the right relationship and have spent a lot of time calling around to different lenders to find the right relationship. So our goal is to make it easy and to really work with farmers to find the right lending relationship. And I think the next slide shows some of the different groups we work with, lenders. So yeah, like we have great relationships with Farm Credit. MetLife Insurance helps farmers acquire, get loans to make big land purchases. We also can connect farmers with FSA, SBA loans. FSA requires a lot of paperwork sometimes, and their process can be a little bit tricky for farmers to understand. At least for me, it was tricky to understand why they accept some farmers and don't accept others. And so we help farmers try to put forth their best application for loans. We also have been liaising with groups that use innovative terms on their loan products. So for instance, Farm Op Capital, instead of having the loan be collateralized against machinery or the farm itself, they collateralize the loan against future yield. And they can also, plug in crop insurance and that sort of thing. So there's some different options that a farmer could choose from. In addition, we're working with with what we're calling catalytic capital. These are loans that are specifically geared toward helping farmers improve their soil health. So Replant Capital, for instance, is creating a loan product that is tied to soil health as an incentive for farmers. So farmers who are doing these soil health practices will get, my understanding is that they'll get better terms. I know they're still developing this product and it's not launched. It's going to be launched, I think, in 2021. But there's just a lot out there. And what we aim to do is take the confusion and hassle of figuring out all these different options and just helping a farmer shop around, find the one they like the best, and move forward. Oh yeah, and Sammy mentioned this earlier. We're building a subscription product on FarmRaise as well. Would love to hear your feedback on this. So what we're doing is we're making it easy for farmers to have their 3 financial statements on hand, and that these financial statements will be dynamic, and that as something changes to the financial situation of the farm, it will be linked to these 3 statements: cash flow statement, balance sheet, and income statement, and be updated in real time. And the way this can work is these statements can connect into your bank account and use that data to create these 3 statements in front of you. So basically that data gets structured into an income statement, balance sheet, and cash flow statement. And we do that by connecting to the farmer's bank account, having the farmer upload their past 3 years of tax statements by taking a picture with their phone, and doing a 10-minute questionnaire. And then we can produce these financial statements, which this is basically in itself, it's an accounting product that can save a lot of time in creating these statements when a farmer applies for a loan or wants to make any sort of business related decision. But what I think are most excited about is we want to make this really outcomes oriented for the farmer. So instead of just having an accounting product, we actually look at these, we can analyze these financial statements for the farmer and make recommendations for how the farmer can boost their profitability on their unique operation. And we make recommendations for both farm management and financial management practices that improve cash flow, so basically liquidity. I don't want to get too businessy, but that increase your ability to access cash, that improve your profitability, and also make your operation more efficient. So you're not wasting resources on things that are not going to boost your bottom line. And so we can do all that through these 3 financial statements that are linked to your bank account. And these recommendations we offer are ongoing, so it's not a point in time thing. We can continue to help you optimize your business as you meet your goals and set new ones.
Awesome. And it's great that we're, giving you all this information about what's out there for you, but I know that sometimes the number one question is, great, now how do I apply? And so what we encourage is let's sit down, let's rank your goals, right? You've probably got a laundry list of at least 5 million things that you want to get done on the farm. So let's pick out the most important of those. Let's priority rank them and look for themes and try to really understand the capital you need to get there. Sometimes this process involves actually drawing up some approximations for how much all this might cost. And one of the big things too is identifying which items are the most important and which items are the most urgent, because those sometimes are not the same thing. So we need to really think through that together. And the second step is planning for these key considerations and gathering the resources you need. So understanding which funding programs you're eligible for, how do those map over to your priorities, what are their deadlines, what's the application like, etc. And that's really where, this process is where we come in at FarmRaise and why we're building this. We help you identify your goals and prioritize them with our consultations and office hours with expert staff. We're talking with farmers every week doing these consultations, and it's a whole lot of fun. It keeps us alive, and it's been rewarding. And we get people from urban hydroponic growers all the way over to traditional Midwestern row crop farmers. And so there's always something to be learned in each of these consultations. We also help you understand which programs are right for you with this eligibility quiz that we've offered. It's online right now. You can take it at farmraise.com. It takes 2 minutes, and then it'll generate a list of, right now, federal programs that you're eligible for, but in the future, state, local level programs and loans as well. And then we are also building out a funding library where you can learn about each program and its deadlines and everything like that. And then we also can help you manage the considerations, those deadlines, the application requirements, etc., by building a tailored funding plan for you, streamlining the application. And we're actually creating a common application so that when you apply for EQIP, all of the information you had to put into the EQIP application is saved, and it auto-fills in future applications that ask for the same information. So you don't have to go through the same process over and over again. The system actually learns and responds to you. And I see there's something in the chat. Jace, could you read that? And I'm able to pull it.
I see. Did you, oh, so this is from Nancy. Did you say the conference grant applies to in-state conferences? I think the grant does not apply to in-state or the Great Plains Growers conferences, but does apply to other conferences. And she sent a link.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Nancy. Yes, my impression was it did apply to Kansas, but I trust you more than me at this point, given you just looked it up. So thank you so much for clarifying that. Awesome. And then I wanted to kind of show you all what it looks like, what we've built so far. So, you know, this is a sample of on the left, what it looks like after you've taken the eligibility quiz. We actually, you know, show you the titles of the programs you're eligible for, and then you can submit your email and sign up for an account to actually save the list and start applying. And when you do set up an account, you're taken to this dashboard where you can apply. And I think Ryan has used the platform, and we actually just launched it in August, and we've been working out, you know, some of our development and making it better over the past few weeks. And then in the coming weeks, we're going to be adding additional features like deadline management, adding in state and local programs and key geographies, and building out from there. And I also kind of want to take you on a journey of what we're trying to do. We've already touched on the things that we're incorporating into the platform, but it's important, especially as like early potential members of FarmRaise, for you all to understand the journey we're going on. And so our priorities for 2021 are threefold. We're going to expand our research into state and local level farm grants. We're going to start getting really good at managing farmers' debt financing needs and helping you all identify loans and apply for them if you need to. And then we're going to enable this profitability insights function that Jace talked about, where we can actually pull the key ratios from your farm financial statements and help you understand where are areas that you could actually optimize profitability. And so Nancy had asked about pricing, and I mentioned the success fee. And really the way it works is that you pay a one-time reimbursable fee of $56 to access state and local level grant matching and then loan matching. And you'll get that fee back in 12 months if we're not successful in matching you to anything. On top of that, if we are successful in matching you to something, you'll pay up to 1% on the total loan value that we match you with, and up to 5 to 10% on the grants that we help you unlock at the state and local level. We can also help you apply for some more advanced federal grants, like the SARE grant that Ryan applied to, for example, in the future, and we'll have you pay a fee on top of that of like an hourly rate up to a cap to compensate for the time of actually writing that grant and putting it together. But we'll also empower you to do that on your own by providing templates and even editing support in our office hours.
So do I understand that to say you're actually going to help write the grants applications?
Yes, and we'll stack tiered fees if you want more involvement from us on writing the grants. Exactly.
Hmm.
A lot of farmers come to us, they have a really clear idea of the project, but they don't know how to navigate a lot of the technicalities in the grant call for proposals. And they need someone to help them formulate what they want to do into a written narrative and a budget narrative. And so that's where we think we can be most helpful. How's all this landing on you all? What do you think is missing, and what do you want to see?
I would think that most farmers just hate grant writing, so if you're going to help them write a grant, I would say you found a niche that might work.
That's what we hear, Don. That's for sure. Well, great. Ryan, did you have a comment?
Hey, this is Ryan again.
Hello.
Yeah, I just had a question for you. So I really like the idea of, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Did you lose me?
Nope. Can you hear us?
Okay, sorry. I like the idea of a reusable, no? Okay.
I think there's a lag, Ryan. I'll say that, I'll stop talking for like a minute and hopefully you come back in.
I don't think he's going to come back in. Hey,
Dang
you
it.
know what's really scary is Ryan is like our most tech savvy board member.
Well, you can be as tech savvy as you want, but if the internet is cutting out, then that's the line.
There you go.
Well, we'll keep going here. Maybe he'll catch back up with us. We wanted to share with you some initial reactions we got. So our development approach at FarmRaise is that we put ourselves out there, and we don't want to develop something alone away from our key constituents and then show you a product we've spent a whole year building and that's the first time we've gotten your feedback on it. No, we want to have you part of the development process, really make this by farmers and for farmers. And so we've been involving farmers on every step of the journey, and the process has been really fun. Farmers are very active on social media. Dawn, I know that you use Facebook a lot, so I shouldn't be surprised about that. But we've posted in a lot of Facebook groups, and we've gotten some good feedback. And then we've also tested, FarmRaise with initial clients like Kevin and Jordan here, and been listening closely for what's really working for them and where we can improve. So would love to have some of your names up here someday if you're feeling like you want to try out FarmRaise and get to know Jason and I better. Cool. Yes, Ryan, got your chat, and we can definitely talk about data security for the farmers' bank information and sensitive data. So this is one of the most important things to us, and we have been prioritizing this at every step of the way. And we hired an incredible co-founder, Albert, to come on and develop the plan for the financial statements product in terms of data security. So he used to work at a firm that specialized in cybersecurity and is very familiar with this. And so I wish he was here because he could say much more technical explanation for this than I can. But basically, we utilize the best services to store data on that are hyper secure. And then we also are integrating with services that have been around for a while and are proven to be secure for integrating bank information. So, you know, at FarmRaise, sure, we could build a ton of stuff from scratch, but where we can, we're actually just going to plug into the best of class sources that are out there to integrate with that can pull your, you know, financial statement information from the bank. So that's how we're attacking it, and happy to answer more of those questions if you have them, and could definitely have Albert talk to you more technically about how we're doing that. But that's a huge concern for us. Absolutely.
So, stupid question, like, I'm an old curmudgeon farmer that's been farming for forever. What would benefit me for signing up, and what would it cost me to sign up?
Great question, Dawn. So signing up is free, but opting into the tiers of service will cost you that $56 one-time fee. And then on top of that, if we're successful in getting you funding, we'll charge you a success fee of 1% for loans, and then up to 10% for grants. We also, if you sign up for FarmRead, which would be wonderful, you'd pay $52 a month, and you would get access to our profitability insight tool that we're building and releasing in 2021. And that's what Jace described. It basically helps you set goals and then understand what levers you need to pull to be able to achieve those goals. So a really tangible example is like this farmer we've been working with in Minnesota, not the one here on this sheet, but this farmer named Dominic in Minnesota who is wanting to expand his acreage, and he's looking for ways to access capital to do that, but he's also looking for ways to cut costs on the farm because he needs to bring his profit margin up. So we've been helping him think about how he can access cost share funding in Minnesota to be able to plant cover crops to drive down his costs of fertilizer and pesticide, and then increase his profit margin. And so Dawn, you know, what does that mean for you as you described yourself? Well, I know that you're very happy with your accountant, and we talked about this last time on the call. So we wouldn't be replacing your accountant at all, but we would be helping you plan if you wanted to have experts helping you walk through plans for the farm in terms of succession, or, you know, whatever you're taking on next on the journey. That's where we come in, and we can help you make a really good analytical decision about the best path forward. And then we can connect you with funding sources if you need them to be able to take things to the next step.
So that's kind of what my next question was going to be, because I'm just about used up. So it's like, what's the next generation of the Teskies going to do with the operation? And it isn't like I can just afford to retire because I have debt to service. So we need to restructure into the next generation. So I don't really get the feel that you've been playing with that yet.
We do help with
That is
refinance.
actually one of our yeah. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Sammy.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
I was going to say, this is actually our long-term vision for FarmRaise, Dawn, is to move into that, to help with succession planning and retirement planning, because this is a crucial need. We've heard so many farmers going, even if they're not going through it in this moment, they're thinking ahead. They're like, okay, next 5 to 10 years, this is what I want to see, whether they're passing the farm on to someone else in their family or something else, whatever's coming up. We want to help farmers figure out what are the best financial structures to make that transition. And two, what are their options? Like what could retirement look like? Because they're also, you know, there are different things that we can help with when you're farming, say more on a part-time basis, if that ends up being what you want to do, or if you want to do something entirely different. So that's a huge focus of the future for FarmRaise. Likely, you know, the next year or so, we're going to look into how do we best partner with farmers on succession planning, and would like to keep talking with you about that.
Cool.
And so just to summarize, like as we as we go out of this presentation, I want you to have a clear picture of what the steps are. So really, you've heard me say this 2 or 3 times now. The first step is really important, and that's just taking stock, setting your vision, and charting your goals. The second is knowing your options, so really understanding what you're eligible for and where it's at, how to access it. And then you want to draw a funding plan and a funding map to help chart deadlines, requirements, etc. And then you can execute and apply. FarmRaise right now, today, helps you with 2 and 3, but we are expanding and quickly growing into all 4 of these steps to help you really take things to the next level on the farm. So thank you so much for letting us be with you all tonight, and would love to keep the conversation going. Our doors are open, and we would love to, schedule follow-up calls with any of you that have additional thoughts or questions. And we also welcome your feedback, your honest, transparent feedback on what we're building, how relevant it is, how to make it better. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.